So I'm reading through Genesis, and I'm in Genesis 25, or I was in Genesis 25 today, and Esau gets a really bad rep. Um, and I'm not saying what Esau did was right or good or any of that. As much as I'm saying, I very rarely ever hear about us, and myself included, preaching about how dirty Jacob did him. Um, and I'm not talking about the stolen blessing. I'm talking about with the birthright first. And I have even preached about Esau sacrificing um, on the altar of the immediate because he was hungry. I have definitely spent more time in my life looking at Esau and his, absolute inability to show any type of self control. I focus way more on that than Jacob. And Jacob really does do his brother dirty. He does not treat him the way that he would want to be treated. Already in their history as a family, we see favoritism. And so, you know, Isaac was the chosen son and Ishmael got sent away. And then here we see that Isaac plays favorite with Esau and Rebekah plays favorite with Jacob. And Jacob, instead of just feeding his brother, which he really should have just fed his brother, he uses it as an opportunity to capitalize on his brother's pain. And I'm just like, Jacob was dirty. We know Jacob was a supplanter. We know, but I think what I do, I'm just gonna speak for me. I can't speak for everybody else. I think what I do sometimes is go, well, but Jacob though, but God said that Jacob would that Esau would serve Jacob and Jacob would have the blessing, and so, but I, the way that Jacob arrived at the blessing doesn't make it any better, right? I mean, Jesus was prophesied to die, but those who killed him and Judas who handed him over, the Bible says, has the greater sin. And so I think sometimes what we do in looking at the biblical narrative is because we are Christians, we tend to overlook all of the sin of those who are fathers in the faith just because they're fathers in the faith. And I'm determined to read through the Bible this time, just really looking at it for what it is. Abraham lied quite a bit. Jacob lied all the time. Um, Isaac lied as well. Favoritism was shown in their family. Abraham and Sarah showed favoritism. Isaac and Rebekah showed favoritism. Um, you know, and so Jacob showed favoritism. And so we see just this long line of favoritism showed. And so it's just like I read these and I get frustrated because sure, Jacob was blessed and God said he would be blessed, but the means by which he got the blessing were not godly. And I'm sure that lie was not cool with God. And so I just need to process out loud and verbally. Just because we get something from God does not mean the way that we got it. Just because God said we would get it, just because we get something from God or God said we would get it, doesn't mean that the ends justify the means. Just because God says something's going to happen doesn't mean he is a fan of, okay with, or blesses all of the sin in between. When Jacob capitalizes on his brother's pain, he does not treat Esau the way that he would want to be treated, and he lacks love in that. And that's not okay. When he steals the blessing, same thing. Rebecca lies. And Jacob lies several times to his father to get the blessing. And sure, he gets the blessing, but he's not walking in love. And so I think sometimes we just stay in the New Testament and we read about Jacob and Isaac in the New Testament and we forget, man, these cats lied and they stole and they um, the blessings that they shared, the wealth that they had, much of it came from something wrong that they did. And so it reminded me capitalizing on my brother's pain is not the way that I should achieve any success that I want to achieve. Instead, I should love my brother, John chapter 13, verses 34 and 35, as Jesus has loved me. He gave himself for me. And so we should then also give up our lives for the brothers. By this shall all men know that you are my disciples, he says, if you have what? Love for one another. So my challenge and charge today to me and to the church at large is love each other. let's not capitalize on each other's pain, but let's, as Romans 12 says, condescend to men of low estate. Let's humble ourselves and see the places where our success has potentially come from capitalizing on somebody else's pain. And even though the success that we have might look good to us, it might be rooted in, a lot like Jacob, something that was wrong to begin with. Anyway, just my thoughts today. I hope it encourages you, challenges you, convicts you, blesses you. But I know that's what it's done for me. I just figure vulnerability is the way forward. And if something touches me, I hope that it can touch you too.